With me tonight, two old friends of mine, and I'll stress, emphasize the word old. And I've known them since they were kids, and it's great to have the two of them here together. It's GailBlackburn and KarlAnderson. And Gail and Karl were both on the U.S. ski team in the 70s. And thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
Bruce,
Okay.
good to see you again.
Good to see both of you guys.
Yeah.
Now, Gail, we had a World Cup here in 1971, and you got to race in that. Was that your first World Cup?
That was my first World Cup.
And what was it like?
It was pretty exciting. I was forerunning. They were having two races. One of the races, World Cup races, was canceled in Europe, so Sugarloaf hosted that race. So they had to stay to the regular World Cup quota. But on the second race, because it was on U.S. soil, they could add more racers if they wanted. And I was forerunning the two races, and I had done well in the timing, so the U.S. team said, we want her to race. So I got a lucky break.
That was great. And Karl, you got to forerun the race.
Yes, I did.
Yes.
I foreran it, and Eddie Brugman won it, I think. Or no, Gustavo Turney won it, and Eddie Brugman was second.
in the giant slalom.
Yeah, and I got him to sign my skis, and I was like thrilled to death. And my plan in life at that time was not about making the U.S. ski team. It was just to make it to the Can-Ams, which were now the NORAMs.
And you were how old then?
I was 17.
So you were in school where?
I was at Edward Little, and at Edward Little we used to not only run cross country and do the alpine events, but they were New England Scholastic champions, and I used to do jumping and so on and so forth.
And Gail, where were you in school at that time?
I think I was probably at Brunswick High School.
At Brunswick High School, and then you went to Burke
I
later.
did, yeah.
Okay.
I think it was the following year that I went to Burke.
And you went on to Johnson State.
I did a semester at Johnson State, trying to make the Can-Am NORAMs, and I was the last one not chosen for the Eastern team. They took 18, and I was number 19. They took Peter Dodge instead.
And now, while you were at Johnson State, you ran into Earl Morris. Tell me how he helped your career in ski racing.
Earl was always dedicated to his athletes, and he's a great guy. He was a great downhill skier for the East, and he'd do anything to make things happen. But when I didn't make the Can-Ams, I was walking across the parking lot dejected, and I was just turned 18 by then, and I thought my career ski racing was over, and Earl goes, no, you can go to Europe. And said, you can go race on the Europa Cup. I didn't know what he was talking about, and he helped organize some money, and my parents gave me some money, and I took all my paper route earnings that I'd had over 4 years of doing a paper route and went to Europe on my own and came back and somehow made the ski team.
Yeah. Now, Gail, after the World Cup at Sugarloaf, how did your career in ski racing unfold from that point? Did you get World Cup starts the following year, or did it take you a while to get more starts?
That summer, I was invited to Mammoth to the National Training Camp and did pretty well in time trials there. And I don't think it was that fall that I got to go to Europe, but the next year.
But you remember you were in the Can-Am circuit, which is now called the NORAM circuit. Before we got in trouble with the car races. We had to change the name. But and so you raced on the narrow gauge a lot.
We did.
That's where the speed venues were. And so when that was in 72, and you went from there to college somewhere too, or did you go to?
I went to college after I was done ski racing, so I didn't go until 1978.
It was very hard to balance academics and all the time off, and I remember Timmy Scaling, going to Kent's Hill, and he had the opportunity he won the junior national giant slalom in Alyeska that year, and next thing you know, they got him on the U.S. team, and he's not even finishing high school at that point. Now, and that was pre a lot of these academies. Burke was the first one in the East, and so now we have academies that kids in high school can balance the academics and still get opportunities to train and go here and there racing. We have some photos here from the old days, and we're going to put one up. And Gail, it's you, and I believe you said Missy Taylor. And maybe you could tell us a little bit about that photo. Andy's going to put that up right now,
I'm
right,
not
Andy?
sure what was taken.
There it is.
I
And
don't
when
know.
was this and where was it?
Well,
Do you know?
It must have been probably.
Gail's on the left, by the way. Keep looking at her.
It must have
Skiers
been
left.
the early 70s. We were probably on the Can-Am circuit, and I don't know if we're looking at some race results or start lists or what we were doing.
So that wasn't in your camp down here in Sugarloaf. There's a Franklin fireplace in the
Oh,
background.
it
I was
is.
just curious.
It must be at our camp.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I think you're right.
but
Good eyes, Bruce.
so yeah. And so
Ooh.
the next clip we have is of the World Cup program cover, and then the next clip we have though is of the team group, right, Andy? Nope. We have this one. Karl, tell us about this picture. This is an iconic poster of you, and tell us about this. How this all. What year it was?
It's a 1975-76 photo, and it's in the marquee event in Switzerland, the Lauberhorn. And you're jumping down next to some cliffs between. You don't want to jump too far to the right, or it's 250 feet over a cliff. And it's called Hundshof. And as you look in the lower left corner of that picture, actually you can see how steep it is, and it's something else. You land, and immediately right after come two jumps, and then what they call the Minchkante, and a number of careers have ended shortly after that, where that jump is made. In fact, that's where Dave Irwin really never ever recovered after he just tumbled down through the mogul field down below there. So
I
it's a
think
dangerous
of this,
place.
That is
I think
narrow.
of this drop without the fact that it's so narrow. I've skied the trail, not raced it, but I've skied on it, and I think of it as if somebody was coming down through Snowbowl and got going about 60 miles an hour and then went straight off crib work. You know, and just the earth just
and
drops away, right?
And it's half as wide.
And half as wide.
And it's
Yeah.
a beautiful vista because you have the Jungfrau and all these Alps right there, and all you got is this cliff you can't see. And when you go over that, if you know anything about it, it falls away hard to the right.
Yeah.
And if you ever got that wrong, and only a few people ever have, you stick in like a dart about 250 feet down the hill.
And just down the trail from there is a tunnel that you had to go through.
Yes, you go under.
And it looks like I'm sure that looked like a pretty small opening.
Well,
60 miles an hour, 70 miles an hour.
Yeah, and you come around the corner, and occasionally you're trying to let your skis run just before that because you've got to go out over this big long meadow. So you're already letting the skis run, and all of a sudden they'll catch. And of course they do put some mattresses on the corner of the
That's the usual.
of the rocks that make the tunnel. But
They'd go into a nearby chalet, grab a few mattresses, and throw
it
them on
was
the course.
about it. And but.
Gail, what was your most memorable World Cup downhill course that you were on? The one that really made your adrenaline rush the most?
Well, I think one of my favorites was Grindelwald.
Okay.
And the first time I went there, I was just amazed that we got on this, as I remember it, to be a single lift, chairlift. And you rode sideways, so you weren't facing up the hill, you were facing out towards the, Alpine, the high Alpine. And the lift made a 90-degree turn at the mid-station and just kept going. And it went over chalets and through farmers' fields. And the course was set that way, too. It went around chalets, through farmers' fields. The cows were hanging out. And it was just really, it was a lot of fun. And there were people, lots of people.
Yeah.
Certainly not as many as there are now at World Cup races, but very different than racing in the United States. Very, very different.
I'm sure.
But very fun.
So you felt like you guys, when you were in Europe, you probably felt like basketball stars would here in the United States, right? I mean, the people of Europe really latched on to ski races and really thought that they were something special, where back here you might not have been as well known.
Well,
Was
I
that the
remember
feeling?
going to the border. When you'd cross the border and you'd have to hand them over your passport, and they go, "Oh, so-and-so, you had a bad crash in the last race."
Yeah.
or you did really well. Can I have a pin? Can I have your autograph?
Yeah.
And we're like looking at each other, they want our autograph.
Yeah.
So we'd give them a pin, we'd get a stamp, and off we'd go.
I've
great.
seen some, I won't tell the story, but it wasn't me, but somebody got in a lot of trouble in Geneva once, and they got out of it they got down to the police station, everything was forgotten as soon as they were signing autographs and whatever, and here, why don't you go back to your hotel? And it had nothing to do with me, but it was a great story if you wanted to hear it.
And I'm sure you all both made some great lifelong friendships from from people from Europe? Anybody in particular you keep in touch with at all?
From Europe?
Those days, from the World Cup circuit?
Not from Europe, but
No.
old
But
team
old
members.
team members, like
well, like the Cochrans
Yeah, the
that
Cochran
I've
girls,
seen
yeah.
Lately, and Susie Patterson, who was a very good dear friend, and some others that Martha Coughlin.
Yeah.
We had a conversation, and
Karl, you
Karen
did.
Budge I'd seen quite a
Karen
few
Budge,
times.
yeah,
We were pretty
yeah.
good friends. She
Sure.
really took me under her wing in a good, bad way.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been back to Europe a number of years, and I even studied German for a part of a semester one time when I was in college. But I see Franz Klammer, Michael Veit, I've seen Bernie Russi. In fact, I just saw another guy, Peter Fischer, while I was over there. I was there this fall.
Yeah.
And so I have a lot of personal friends. I had more, when I came back from Europe after my career, I had more friends in Europe than I did in the U.S., quite frankly.
But your friends here used to look after you when you came back. I mean, we'd have parties for you at the house and stuff. And
Oh,
try to
yeah.
send you off to Europe in a good frame of mind.
I remember
getting.
getting sent to
Yeah.
Europe one time with my head and hat in my hand. I think it was
Yeah.
your house, in fact. And in fact, I think you don't need to say, I remember
looking
that
out for
story.
you.
Yeah, you were not looking out for me,
Yeah.
you dog. Yeah.
We were all so proud of Karl. All right, well, we're gonna take
We
a little break
digress.
at this point. But we'll be
digress.
back in a minute with KarlAnderson and Gail Blackburn right here at WSKI TV 17.